up, people? Welcome back. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for All You Can Eat Chelsea. Back in the building, Lateness is greatness with the cast and crew. Younes and Miz by my side once again. I'm just trying to remember all my lines. Sorry, gentlemen.
We're back.
It's good. It's good to be back, people. It's good to be back. I feel like you guys are going to be hyped because you have probably never, ever had this show. I mean, you've definitely not gone this long without a show. I think the maximum you've ever gone is like a week. So, yeah, it's good to be back. Younes, bro, how are you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm good. But overall, great time off. Not that I expected it to be that good. I thought it was going to be a little bit weird having the season stop, but the World Cup was a blessing. A brilliant World Cup. Shout out to the World Cup. Shout out to Qatar. Greatly hosted. The whole tournament was fantastic. Nothing bad to say. And now we got to go back to reality, which is this. So, yeah, bring it on.
3 defeats in a row. Bournemouth next. I can't wait for Steve Cook to cook. I'm joking. Hopefully we win, guys. Hopefully this break has done us well, right, Miz? We've had a break. The players have gone out. Some of them have balled out. Some of them haven't. Hopefully they've gained inspiration from Messi and Mbappe to take those traits and attributes and use them in their own lives. Bring that back to Cobham.
Bring those skills back to Cobham, man. If only it was that easy, like copy and paste. But yeah, man, as Younes said, like, it's been a fantastic World Cup. It was great not to think about Chelsea, and here we are. We're back, and already the misery is hitting me. Already, I'm feeling a little bit iffy. That God,
I can't wait for the watch-alongs.
Like waiting for some of those World Cup matches, I was like pumped. Yeah, this team can do it, or that team can do it, and then we've got Bournemouth come. Like, can we do it? Can we do it against Bournemouth, please? Please.
People are actually genuinely worried about Bournemouth at home. It's insane. Genuinely, it's insane.
Do you know what's mad? Go on.
I don't know if you guys watched Bournemouth yesterday. I watched them against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. I have to say, any points dropped against Bournemouth, it's an embarrassment. A straight up embarrassment. Like, these guys had nothing against Newcastle.
Did they lose?
Embarrassment is my middle name, Miz.
Matisse embarrassment, Hoffa.
I can handle embarrassment with this team now. I can handle it.
But yeah, man. I mean, they lost. Yeah,
we've got history with Bournemouth and,
we do.
And home. I remember that pain, but yeah, it's mad how even during the World Cup. So the last time we had our show and then we went off, it's almost like during our time away, people's hopes have kind of died down even further. It's not even gone the other way. It's not even gone like, Chelsea are coming back in. I know it's going to be good this time. It's more people are worried than they were.
I see more people getting
worried.
How's that
happened?
I don't know. I don't know. I just see more people getting more worried. More questions about Potter. Potter has done nothing in the last month. And I've seen more questions about Graham Potter than I did when he was in charge of the matches. Like, I'm seeing people like, you know what? I don't think this is the right manager. I think we should have Luis Enrique. I'm like, he's not even doing anything. He's in his office. Behind closed doors, nothing is happening. We obviously beat Brentford 5-1. Nobody got to see the match, so did it really even happen? Maybe they just faked it. I don't know. Until I see video footage, until I see evidence in the courtroom with a judge and the jury, I don't even know if this actually exists. It's like when we beat QPR and Loftus-Cheek got a hat. I'm still waiting for it.
Really happen.
Did it really happen? Did it really happen?
I'm still waiting for the evidence. You're trying to tell me in 2022, no one couldn't get a little camera and record? Really? A little iPhone, just a little record.
No, maybe we paid a little.
I was just going to quickly say, and there was apparently 3 sections of 45 minutes. So was it even what kind of a football match is that? Yeah, Nizar said there was 3 sections of 45 minutes, so everyone got an opportunity. So
Todd
I can't even say halves.
Todd Bowley's trying to bring American sports really over here to Chelsea. He's changing the game completely now. This guy is sick. He's changing the halves to 45 3 times, 45 minutes.
Second half ended, and he went, "Hey man, the second third just ended."
Second third.
He's trying to get to quarter. You see where he's going with this? He's trying to get to quarter.
Yes.
But he's not there
Basketball
yet.
style.
Yeah, he's trying to sneak it in. He thinks he's clever. I see what you're doing, Todd. I see what you're doing. You think you're slick. You think you're slick with it. Yeah.
Now, you know what? Maybe with this result, maybe we just paid Brentford off, got Ivan Toney to sort out the accounting. Maybe got him to put in a couple of bets on. Told him we're gonna let's call it 5-1. You can put a couple of quid on 5-1 and Havertz to score a hat trick. Havertz will score 3. Yeah, put a bet on. And then he got busted by the FA or whatever happened. 262 breaches. What's this man doing? What's he been doing? Has he been in the bookies like 24/7? Has he been in the betting shop just there looking at the screen?
Has he played 262 times for Brentford? Let alone like.
No, it's back from Peterborough days. That's how this is stretching back really far. Like he's been gambling since he left the womb. It seems the amount.
He's an addict. He's an addict.
By the time he's finished, like I'm expecting him to not be playing again this season. Probably not next season. So all of these, like when we was like, maybe we should go for Ivan Toney. You can put that away because there's no way he's going to be kicking.
The only one's going in for Ivan Toney now are Ladbrokes. They can sign a contract with him.
Hey, listen, don't forget Paddy Power. You know they might pay a bit. Maybe Coral, maybe a little Coral. You know what I'm saying?
Become a professional gambler.
Boyle Sports.
Yeah,
man.
The bidding will be insane. I think bidding is what kind of got him in this mess in the first place. But
he's a mad character, isn't he? Like, wasn't it last season where he said "F Brentford"?
Yeah,
just to pick up a.
Now Brentford said "F you."
Maybe now we know. Maybe he said that because they cost him a bet. It's like maybe his accumulator fell down the drain because of Brentford.
Maybe.
Probably the reason why he probably scored a goal and messed up his own accumulator. To be fair, can you imagine?
You know what, Matisse? That I'm suspicious about this brother. If he's screwed around a little bit with his own game,
he scored a lot of goals in the championship. So I'm guessing he just bet on himself a lot. Must do. If he's going to be that prolific, I'll just bet on myself. More motivation to score, right? You get a goal bonus in your contract, and you get another bonus. We need to get off the Ivan Toney.
Some of our players then need to do that, Matisse.
Maybe Kai Havertz start sticking some bets on. Yeah, I want you to bet on yourself. This is a motivational speech to Kai Havertz and to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, bang your man, as Big Steve likes to say, and Pulisic and Ziyech and Mason Mount. I want you guys to bet on yourselves.
Yeah,
bet on you, because if you don't bet on you, nobody else will.
And
get a ban. Don't worry, we'll replace you with Rafael Leao.
and you know what? Bet big, so it really, really counts. Like, so that your life is on the line. Like, bet your property, bet your pension, bet your everything.
Gamble responsibly, but do gamble responsibly.
But gamble responsibly.
Oh my goodness!
You best believe Pulisic is not missing those chances in front of the goals if he's betting on himself with that.
I think so. No,
things on the line. Do you know what I mean?
I'm fuming that Kai Havertz has scored a hat trick and I haven't witnessed it. That's the first thing. Apparently, Rakeen also scored as well. But also on the downside, because just like the Aston Villa friendly, which I did watch the full entirety of it, I thought Hutchinson was great. Yeah, Hutchinson was great. I saw you didn't even comment on that shit. I didn't see a single video from you. He was in my comment section like, nice review. Unfortunate that you watched that, but nice. I like that. I'm not watching that shit, but you enjoy. You tuck into that shit. Amari Hutchinson was great. I'm not gonna lie though. Also, positively, I've seen a lot of people on social media throwing Amari Hutchinson into starting lineups.
Yeah,
that just goes to show how much the fan base is starving for some quality in terms of somebody who is explosive, has pace, has trickery. The shot that hit the post from this beautiful strike, daring. I feel like the best wingers nowadays are the ones that have not experienced the top level football. They have just come from the academy. They're confident. They're ripping up their mates in their own level. They've got the explosiveness. They haven't had the ankle injuries or the Achilles injuries or the ACL. They're just happy-go-lucky individuals with nothing to lose. And as soon as they come to senior football, as Grizz would say, is a humbler because they just lose all of that. And it's just like, it's almost like the real world. Bills, gas, electric. All of these things just start popping out of nowhere. Kids, marriage, school runs. This is Callum Hudson-Odoi paying his electric bill. You've grown up. Unlucky, son. Do you know what I'm saying? We'll never see the carefree, happy-go-lucky spirit again of GCSE. Do you know what I'm saying? This is what it is. Uni days. Just doing whatever you want. Go drinking. It wouldn't even affect you. That is what the wingers, that's how I look at wingers these days. So I think while he's still how he is, enjoying life, I think we've got to use him because, listen, when the Premier League gets a hold of him and that first tackle goes in, it's a whole different ball game. But I've seen a lot of people throw him into lineups on that right wing. But unfortunately, obviously, Bro is out of ACL. But the new information is, I don't know how long Fofana is out for, but I've seen that he's injured as well.
Yeah, he put, or someone close to him put, looking about a month.
Oh, they said less than a month. I mean, look, yeah.
Which apparently isn't bad.
But I guess on top of what he's already missed.
Yeah, what he's already missed.
Yeah, but what I don't want this to become is recurring injuries. What I don't want this to be is like the Telegraph, where I sign up for the free, I sign up for the free 3 months of access to read Matt Law's newspaper, and then 4 months later, I'm getting billed $17.99 out of nowhere in my bank account. I don't want to see that recurring transaction. I want that to be stopped immediately. So it might only be 3 weeks, but on FIFA, I saw that his trait is injury prone. And if that shit happens in real life, 80 million squidinis we paid for this man. Like I said, I'm hoping that it's not the case, but we have so many players that are just susceptible to injuries. We don't need any more. And that's why
some people warned about him before.
I mean, it was a risky transfer.
Some people were like, yeah, he's injury prone. And a lot of people were like, no, he's not really injury prone. But
just had a big injury.
Now,
not be careful. Yeah. We need to be a lot more careful with who we sign and when we sign them and what they've just come from. I'm looking at you, Christopher. You know what I'm saying? Don't get any ideas, Christopher, in Cuckoo. We have to be careful, guys. It's a lot of money.
I just did a stream a moment ago saying that because some people have started sort of branding me as Fofana hater, and I'm like, I don't hate Fofana. Like, what am I going to hate this guy for?
Why do you hate Fofana, Miz?
Why
do you hate Fofana?
I mean, honestly,
you went to school with Fofana?
Why should I hate this guy? Like, this guy's a quality defender. He was balling in Leicester. All I said was, even before we bought him, when the rumors started materializing and Alex Goldberg was literally every day tagging Wesley Fofana, like, we've seen it.
He needs to stop doing that.
Wanting him badly. He did it for Endrick as well, and we didn't get Endrick. Now he's doing it for... Now he's doing it for this latest Brazilian, and I'm like, I didn't comment. I'm like, Alex, just.
I'm gonna cease his account. I'm gonna cease his account. I'm gonna cease his account. I'm gonna cease.
Anyway, even during that time, I was like, okay, 75 million odd that you need for Wesley Fofana. Is it wise? And at that time, boys, if you guys remember, his transfer was linked with perhaps Chalobah leaving. And I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. Chalobah leaving. Chalobah just had a season with Chelsea. Whether you think it was a good season or a bad season, that's for you to... I thought it was a decent season from Chalobah last season. And I thought, continue on this with this brother. We got in Koulibaly. We have Thiago Silva. We brought in Cucurella by then. And I was like, let's give those backup minutes to Colwell or Ethan Ampadu. It makes more sense. And at that time, spend that 70, 75 million on a midfielder or an attacker. Get another one of those. And look, we're still linked with the CB anyway right now with Vardiol. Like, we're still linked with Vardiol. We're still with Piero Hincapi, whatever that guy is from Ecuador. It just didn't make sense to me at that time to get Wesley Fofana. Like, put your money on Chalobah. Put your money... And Chalobah, since Wesley Fofana has been injured, he's been the standout defender for Chelsea Football Club. Let's be honest. Even Thiago Silva, before the World Cup, was a bit iffy. Chalobah has been the stand-up. So
If Fafana and I'm not worried about Fofana yet. I'm just raising a little yellow flag. Not even a red flag. Just a little. It's just a warning. It's just a warning. It's not even a. It's just a polite. Not even an aggressive. Just a very polite warning. That I'm now really praying that he is not injury prone and he's not going to keep. This is not going to be a ongoing thing, because when he played against us, I remember when he played us against us for Leicester against Chelsea in the FA Cup final, he was outstanding. He was outstanding, and I think Todd and the whole recruitment are trying to stop Fofanas and players like that from going to Leicester in the first place for however much they paid for him. Enzo Fernandez to Benfica, 10 million, literally this summer. Just gone. Alvarez, 14 million from River Plate. They're trying to stop these players from going to these clubs for these cheap fees, and then we come
Vinicius
and pay,
as well. Vinicius for Real Madrid.
And then we come and pay. Hey, thanks for developing him for 3 months. Here's 100 million. Do you know what I'm saying? I think he's trying to stop that. But yeah, he was outstanding against us. He was man of the match. I thought he was incredible defensively. So when he's at his best, before the injury, I have no qualms. I mean, obviously I do have qualms because I'd like if we just had got him before he went to Leicester, but he's brilliant. But yeah, I just really hope that he remains fit and that he's not injury prone, because I am slightly concerned. I don't know about you, Younes. Are you concerned, or you just watch and wait, I guess?
We have to watch and wait, or wait and watch. But at the same time, it'd be a little bit naive to not be a little concerned, because he's just had a big injury. Now he's hit again with something separate, something new. And it means waiting more and going into the second half of the season, or starting off in January. If he can't play now, and it means having to wait just under a month, then mid-January is when we're expecting him back. The games are going to be coming in at that point are going to be thick and fast. And it's actually not that much of the season left when you think about it. So at that point, I'm hoping that he doesn't get hit with something again. If he can pick up his rhythm at that point and, really crack on, then fair enough. But
the recovery time, isn't it?
This is the recovery time. And this not just for him. We have to pay attention. I don't think this is exclusive to Chelsea as well. But there's going to be a lot of injuries this second half of the season. It's inevitable. With the amount of players that went to the World Cup, all of them coming straight back. There are going to be players were falling before the World Cup. You'll remember. Players are going to collapse after this World Cup. I honestly think, getting into the second half of the season when it gets really, really intense, I think players are going to fall like flies. So we have to manage the squad. And when you look at Fofana, I just hope that after this, we don't get an issue. If we get an issue immediately after, at that point, I'm worried.
And on the whole Fofana situation, and obviously there's been an announcement that Christopher Vivell is now the technical director for Chelsea Football Club. I just hope moving forward, we have a good plan every window. I really sincerely think our plan, and I'm not having a go at the new owners, because it was, crazy circumstances. It was special circumstances that they came in, and, it is what it was the last summer. But some of those transfers, personally, I don't think I would have gone for Fofana in that particular window. I would have just got another midfielder, maybe another attacker, and I could have done with maybe keeping Colwell or even Ampadu.
Yeah, I would have liked to keep Colwell, to be honest.
Yeah, and I hope someone like Christopher Vivell, along with all of these other brothers that we got, Joe Shields and Neil Bath being promoted, and that Stewart guy from Monaco, and many more. We got so many guys now. I hope this January transfer window is well thought out. People are screaming for new midfielders, and I've got no issues with that. But please ask yourself the question, what is the plan for Chukwuemeka? What is the plan for Cesar Cassetti? What is the plan for Kovacic? What is the plan for Jorginho? What is the plan for Kante? What is the plan for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's apparently still injured? If you guys remember, I think just before the World Cup, he left before halftime. He left injured in one of the games. I can't remember what game it was, but he left injured. Might have been Newcastle, and he's apparently still injured. So what happened to Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Like, what kind of injury did he pick up? Kepa apparently is still not completely fit. What happened to him for him to be still not being fully fit? Kante, God knows when he's going to. So I just need to see plan. I need to see a plan. I don't want just go out there and get your next Edson Alvarez, get your Moses Caicedo, get your Declan Rice in some. Give me a plan. I need to see a plan. So hopefully there is a plan.
You mentioned Christopher Vivell, who's obviously just coming to the club, but and correct me if I'm wrong. But is his role to do with, because Chelsea are trying to build this massive portfolio.
Yeah.
Is he going to be more to do with Chelsea, or is he more to do with a portfolio? Because I know that, hence why we're hiring multiple technical directors, because apparently they're going to be split. One more focused towards Chelsea, one more focused towards the global brand.
Yeah.
And the other clubs and the umbrella, right? Is Vivell going, what way is he going?
In my understanding, it was meant to be more focused on that multi-dimensional. So it's going to be Chelsea and all the other, like he's going to have a one way of philosophy, footballing style and recruitment philosophy across all of the clubs. But Younes, we don't have all the other clubs yet. Like it's just Chelsea for the time being. We don't have, the club from France or the club from Brazil or the club from Portugal as yet. So his focus for the time being should be looking ahead. Apparently, technical directors, they look ahead 3, 4, 5 windows down the track, and they work on what philosophy is, the manager and the club wants to play down the track. And accordingly to that, they try and get players. So surely his job starts from this window.
His title seems to be technical director. So I'm not
exactly
sure. There's no global in it. Let me read the quote from Todd Bowie as well. And it says, we are delighted.
There's any clue there,
It says that we are delighted that Christopher has taken up this important leadership role at the club. His work in Germany and Austria speaks for itself. We are confident that he will continue on his impressive trajectory here at Chelsea. He will provide important support to Graham and the ownership group and play a vital part in advancing our overall vision for the club. It's difficult. I feel like it's hard to say. I feel like he's for Chelsea. He's not for, because as you said, we don't have the other clubs. And whilst we're signing all these young players, like say a Fofana, who everybody's really excited about, he hasn't actually officially joined yet, but we're bringing in Fofana, who, let's make no mistake, regardless of his statistics, to jump up from the Norwegian league into the Premier League is probably massive, right? So to bridge that gap, you usually on a normal path would go to a Dutch league, or you go to a Belgium league, or you go to a league just on the cusp of a top 5 league, or maybe a Bundesliga, like a Haarland or whatever, and you would bridge that gap. But because we don't own the clubs yet, which is what we would usually do, we would multi-club model. We would own clubs, send him there. We would have that already planned out before we've even bought him. We know what club that we own we're sending him to, with the manager, with the style of the play. But because we haven't got any of that done yet, I'm like, we're recruiting a lot of young players. We're getting them in like a vacuum, just hoovering up all of the players. But are we knowing how we're gonna utilize and develop, and what's their next plan? I don't want to see just the under 23 PL2 team win the league by 112 points or something, and they're all just scoring 10 goals a game and not really developing because they're too good for the PL2. Like, what's the plan? Because when I spoke to Ben Jacobs, it didn't sound like he was a Amando Broya replacement, and that doesn't surprise me. As much as everybody's excited, that's a very big responsibility to give him, to say you're going to be the second choice striker for Chelsea in the second half of the season, in a season where we're under pressure to make top 4. Aubameyang's not really, I don't know about what you guys feel, but I'm not impressed with Aubameyang, to be honest. I'm really not that impressed. I think he's been okay to at best, and that's not what I expect from a stopgap. Stopgap's got to be good.
Okay at first.
Yeah.
Then it's just gone blank.
Yeah, a stopgap's got to do the business. I said it when we signed Aubameyang. I don't want no excuses, inconsistency. He's played in this league. He knows the job. He's experienced. He's a good finisher. Stopgaps are meant to be just that. They come in, they do a job, and then they leave. And if that stopgap is not really doing their job and they're inconsistent throughout the season, I could have got that from a young player. So not particularly overwhelmed with or, extremely excited about him for the rest of the season. Hopefully this is one season and done, because I'd like to be freshened up now next season without this. Lukaku's coming back next summer as well. Hopefully that. Listen,
just on the Aubameyang thing, this is where I get really nervous about the second half of the season starting. I'm pretty sure you guys would have seen some of the articles just before the World Cup or just during the World Cup where certain players apparently don't respect Graham Potter. Like there are certain players that, Kieran Dyer, you saw little clip from him in True Jordi.
I forgot.
I actually believe that clip. And I'm pretty sure Kieran Dyer ain't going to just come in and just make up stuff there. I'm certain he's talked to someone, right? Whether he's talked to Aubameyang, I don't know. But I feel Aubameyang could be one of those players who probably expected to play under Thomas Tuchel. Like he probably spoke to him prior to joining on the last day, saying that he's hoping that he's going to be around. Like for him, it would have. And I think Aubameyang did say that, didn't he? That he found Tuchel's sacking like a shock. That he had no idea this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So on that point, what Matisse said, this brother, if and I've said it recently as well, like if any player, even if the players that we like and we love, if they don't have the respect for Potter, they gotta go. I'm sorry, those players need to leave. So if that's Hakim Ziyech, you got to go, brother. As much as I love you so much, but if you can't respect Graham Potter, who is the Chelsea manager right now, I'm sorry, he's not leaving. Potter's not going anywhere. You got to leave. And if Aubameyang is one of those as well, you've got to leave.
But
you can't stay at Chelsea and eat up the wages.
About one of the big plus points for Aubameyang was Tuchel, and everybody was saying, well, Tuchel's going to be able to get the best out of him. He's worked with him. They got a great relationship. Without Tuchel, Aubameyang's stocks are not as high in terms of what are we really getting out of this? Because if he's not firing us to top 4, which is the whole point, again, I don't like it when the standards drop too much. I don't mind patience, and I'm very patient, but we're still Chelsea Football Club. We still need to, for me, be meeting minimum requirements. If we're going to go for some of the top players, I've seen some of the big names that we want to be linked with in the summer. We need Champions League football, because I don't think Graham Potter's got the most global brand name, Paul Power, Pep Guardiola. So, let's help him out with some Champions League football. That's not going to make it any worse for sure. And that should always be the target, bare minimum. And that's not even a fun target. That's just something that you just need to try and get, just to try and maintain, some sort of level here. And obviously when the new format comes for coefficient, I think it will be top 5. So we should be a lot easier to qualify. But when it comes down to him, short-term stopgap, whatever you want to call it, he's got to be trying to fire us to top 4. And that goes the same for if we had signed Ronaldo instead. There's no point signing Ronaldo, signing Aubameyang, signing these players if they're not shooting you to top 4. I don't need to see these players shoot us into 5th and 6th. That's just not necessary. We could do without. So there's a lot of pressure on some individuals, especially in the second half of the season, to really show why they're here collecting their weekly wage. Because listen, I'm looking forward to their return, because I am intrigued. I'm not excited, but I'm intrigued to see what they do. But let's be honest, guys. This has been a horrendous start to the season. We're 8th. I know Miz put up something on his story, how many points we are behind Arsenal. It is insane.
16, like 17, something like that.
I'm all here for the process. I don't like that P word, but I'm all here for, build, because I've always said that if we're going to get back to the top of the Premier League, we can't just keep hiring and firing, and we have to actually build something. It's impossible now to win the Premier League by just being knee-jerk, reactionary, and sacking constantly and ripping up structures. And it's not even a healthy environment to build development for young players anyway. So if you want to have young, talented players, you want to have players that excel and perform, you need to put some sort of stability around them. You can't just be ripping up their environment constantly and asking them to perform. This isn't John Terry. This isn't Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba. The players these days don't have those mentalities. Unless you're Kylian Mbappe, who starts smiling on national anthems when the World Cup final's on. You don't have that mentality anymore. So you do need to make it a little bit more homely, right? But I'm not here to do the Arsenal 8th place. Like, I know everybody's bigging up Arsenal and they're like, oh, look, we should be like Arsenal. I don't really think we need to go through that level of trauma. Back-to-back 8th places. You think I'm going to sit here? You think we should all sit here and suffer back-to-back 8th places? I don't think that's necessary.
I completely agree. Yeah.
And it's not even the back-to-back 8th. Look back before that. 5th, 6th. Like, they've not made Champions League for 6 seasons, I think.
Bro, since Arteta was kicking ball, they weren't kicking in the champs. Oh, Aubameyang's having his first Champions League season now. Bless his heart.
It's mad.
Bro,
mad.
No. So for me, because I like seeing, Man City's template and Liverpool. Not everybody's journey is the same. And I don't think our team is as poor as Arsenal's team maybe was when they were finishing in those positions. I don't think we need to suffer that much. If we were going to suffer, we would have Antonio Conte. You know what I'm saying? If we wanted to suffer, we don't need to suffer. Speaking of which, he could be out of a job. Who wants to see him come back?
Oh, my days. Wow.
Can you imagine if he Wigman rocked up again?
Hey,
guys,
listen, if we're suffering...
Guys, nobody under the age of 23 will play for me, okay? All of these players you have been signing, vamos.
But you best believe Lukaku's coming back if Conte is coming to Chelsea.
Oh my God.
Lukaku is coming back.
Can you imagine?
Oh, Jesus. Can you actually imagine? So, yeah, obviously, so it will be interesting. Obviously, we didn't get Endrick. Last time we spoke, we were all so excited to see if we would get Endrick, right?
It was never going to happen.
Wishful thinking, man. Real Madrid or Real Madrid.
Those were the days when we were going for the next Neymar.
It's actually mad.
It's -7 outside usually, isn't it, Younes, these days? It's been cold as hell.
It's been way too cold.
Imagine Endrick out there.
I mean, it's 11 degrees or so now. So
yeah, it's back to we're on the up now. But
yeah,
listen, Endrick ain't dealing with these
if you just waited a bit.
And I love the way that we tried to use Thiago Silva as the bargaining tool, like as if he'd still be playing football when Endrick gets here. Endrick is arriving at Real Madrid in 2024. Oh, I know who we're going to use to convince him. The player that's just on the cusp of retiring.
I'm pretty sure Thiago Silva had no idea who this guy was. I'm pretty certain he's like, 16-year-old? I don't associate myself with 16-year-olds.
No, we got to be honest as well, bro. This brother's 16. How much did Real Madrid pay in the end? 78 million?
72 million euros. World's got mad. And you know what the crazy part is? And I tweeted this the other day. And I get it. I understand his potential. He's, a hype. I understand. I get that. But for Hakim Ziyech, for the World Cup that he's had, and for AC Milan to apparently quote around 15 million euros, that disparity is something that I don't understand. I get it will be less. I understand Ziyech would be less than Endrick because Endrick's hype. I get that. 78 million and 15 million on a guy who's got experience, like at the highest level. Honestly, look, it's probably going to work out for Real Madrid because it generally works out for Real Madrid. He's probably going to end up being the next big thing. But world has come to an insane situation. Like, that's created a precedent, hasn't it? Like, seriously.
That has, yeah. That will send shockwaves even more. Because, probably he's 16. He's not set foot on the world stage yet. And he's already cost over 17 million pounds. Like, that's...
Well, we were linked with another Brazilian that has 100 million release clause. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, that Victor, whatever guy. He's the guy I think Alex is tagging now.
Oh my God, he's gone to the next one.
Oh. It's mad. It's mad.
100 million.
It's
Yeah.
mad.
So I don't know what's going on there. That's that release clause is insane as well. But yeah, I mean, speaking on Ziyech, Pulisic, these two had good World Cups. They didn't play after the Manchester City game, where I thought it was a good performance, but again, a lot of transition, obviously, in that match. Not, we're good in transition. We know this. We're a good team on the break, and not actually. No, that's a lie.
That's a lie. That was because Matisse. That is a lie.
That's
bro.
a lie.
What
That's a
team
lie.
are you talking
You know
about?
that when they're like
people like this, Matisse. Come on.
Matisse has been watching World Cup. He's forgot about Chelsea.
We're good in transition. Oh wait, no, that's a lie.
No, I was thinking about Morocco. Sorry.
We're good at defending. Oh wait, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. No. I'll get there. But yeah, it suits us more. I'll say that, to play on the transition, because at least then we have more space. We have to be less accurate, I guess, less precise, less precision. But yeah, I think then they were dropped. They were dropped for Newcastle.
So do you mean going back to our roots and playing on the counter again?
You mean prime Chelsea?
Prime Chelsea.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Even on transition, our decision making reeks, and then we're not even clinical as well. We're not clinical. We're not clinical, unfortunately. In that game, I think we actually could have gone through this Carabao Cup. Obviously, we played them in the FA Cup again, but we could have gone through there if we were actually clinical. But Pulisic, his finishing is the issue, right? Even against England, he played well, but he couldn't put his chances away. I was asked this on the byline when I was with Felix about whether their careers at Chelsea can shift momentum after the World Cup. I answered flat out no, not because I don't think they have the tools to do so in moments. I think Ziyech had a good Christmas period last season when he was playing in maybe his preferred position. I think even from Morocco, when he was tucked in, he wasn't as effective as I prefer when he was out on the right flank. But a lot of people said no, he still had a good game against France. But I do think it's clear that when he's on the right flank on the touchline, he's a lot better. But I still haven't changed my opinion on the player personally. I still think that in the Premier League, it's not the same as it is in international football. I still feel like the pace, the lack of pace to get past the player to be able to use that option is going to limit him. And I don't actually see his Chelsea career changing all that much. And I would take money for him in January, but 15 million is a disgrace. 100%. I think it should be minimum, 30 after the World Cup. After the World Cup performances. And Pulisic, I think, still needs a fresh challenge. I don't think anything's changed with Pulisic, as much as I think, he's a nice player. He's a good player when we're playing to maybe his strengths and he's playing at his best. But again, I'm tired. So many years has gone by with these guys, and there's so many attacking players out there. If Potter's not going to use them, and their confidence is probably shot to pieces in a Chelsea shirt at this point anyway. I think it's time for a fresh environment. I don't think anything's really changed for these guys, to be honest.
You know what's mad? I think throughout this tournament, and seeing those two especially, maybe Ziyech more than Pulisic, but the way that they've played, and you see that the way that in the setups that they play in, again, probably more to do with Ziyech than Pulisic, but Pulisic did quite well. With Chelsea, you can see that I think if we honestly put our attention to where it matters, it unlocks players like Ziyech and Pulisic and allows them a little bit of breathing space. Because in this Chelsea team, I think they come in, and as you rightly say, if they're the only outlet and then they get cut off or they get dispossessed or there's no space, then we've got nothing else. Our midfield is where we need to focus on. And I think that's key, because if in the same way that Ziyech had that Moroccan midfield, he had Amrabat, Unahi, and then Hakimi behind him to complement. Ziyech had all the luxury in order to do what he wanted to do. Similarly with Pulisic in the United States team. But Chelsea, he can't have that. He doesn't have that. We got a midfielder that's flat. midfield that doesn't move, that doesn't unleash, that doesn't let or provide for someone like Ziyech for support. And then let's say we sell Ziyech or we sell Pulisic, we've got the same problem. I think we bring in another winger, we've got the same problem. Rafael Leao would be great, but he comes into this Chelsea team, I think even he's going to find issues. And I think it stems from that midfield. I think we address the midfield, we unlock everything. And before, you remember, I used to be like, you know what, now Ziyech needs to go. Even Pulisic needs to go. When I see the way that they're playing at the World Cup and I see how they're playing with certain players around them, that enables them to do what they want to do. I see why they're not doing what they want to do at Chelsea, because we haven't got the midfield to provide them with that stability. We ain't got it.
But
I think we
I agree with you.
I think if we put our attention into that, we unlock everything else instead of doing it the other way around. Although I think maybe the damage is already done for someone like Ziyech or Pulisic at Chelsea. I think mentally, even in the environment, I think the damage is already done. So to bear it in mind going forward, I still think, yes, even if they do go, but the first priority is the midfield.
I agree with you. That's why I'm not actually that sad that Nkuku's not joining in January. Obviously, he's injured, but I would prefer that he comes in when the team is actually closer to being fixed. Midfield is still definitely number one priority. Obviously, we kind of do need a striker because we just don't have enough strikers, that too. Period, because of Broja's injury. But the midfield needs to be rectified. It's why I've been banging on about no new contract for Kante, no new contract for Jorginho, because when you renew those guys, it takes up space. And when you take up space, it causes and creates excuses. And when it creates excuses, it means that we potentially don't bring in the amount of players that we need to bring in. Look at that. Look at the performances of Amrabat in the World Cup. Look at the performances of Enzo Fernandez. Look at the performances of, all these guys in midfield that have been balling out. And, if they, again, you take World Cup with a pinch of salt, because are they going to perform like that week to week when they're not representing their nation? Are they going to come with the same level of commitment? I would hope so. I think it depends on the personality that you're recruiting as well, that they're not too lackadaisical and they're actually super, super motivated to perform. But if we can get that midfield sorted and then go and get the forwards, ideally, most of them at least, then at least you're giving them the foundation to actually work from, instead of putting them in a position where they potentially fail again, and then confidence drops, and then it's a conveyor belt and it's a chain of events once again. The reason why I still believe that Pulisic and Ziyech still do need to go is the second part of what you said, is that I do feel the damage is already done. I do think the confidence is shot. And I also do believe that there are things in their game that is missing, that in wingers, I don't want it to be missing. I need that there. I need to know you're clinical. As much as they had good World Cups, they still weren't clinical in their finishing. I need to see that a winger has pace. Amari Hutchinson, that pace, that explosive pace that he has on that right-hand side in that friendly, I need that. You've got to have pace. You're a winger. Your job is to take on players, to go past them, and to create and just disturb the defensive shape, and to take players out of the game, to make it easier to score goals. And if you can't take players out of the game with some pace, then your passing has to be taking players out of the game. And I don't think either of these two players have, Cesc Fabregas level passing. Do you know what I mean? I think, Ziyech has got good passing. Pulisic can't pass, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? He's more of a dribbler. He can't really cross. He can't really pass like that. He's a ball carrier, and he'll take players out of the game like that. But again, do we need to keep picking and choosing attributes, or can we not just get an all-rounder? That's my thing. I think we deserve to have players that can do it all. Don't want to be picking and choosing and seeing limitations in games.
See, this is where I feel like, Graham Potter, this is where you need to make a decision. Like, we can all sit here, us three, and talk about what is needed for the team and what not. But Graham Potter has been dealt some cards. And the cards that he has right now. January, we'll see what happens, what kind of players we are going to bring in and what not. We can't comment on something that hasn't happened yet. Well, we can comment on what he's got right now. And this is why I say, like what you've just said, Matisse, in regards to Amari Hutchinson. He's explosive, he's pacey. Well, Potter, what's stopping you from using him then? Is it just the age factor? Okay, fine. If it's an age factor, inexperience factor, you don't want to use him, no problems. Keep him on the bench and you can use him, at the end of the match. Give him 10 minutes, 15 minutes here and there. Okay, then what is your other option then? Surely your options aren't Gallagher up front or Mount up front. Like, this is where I'm like, you have a Ziyech. Use him then. Use him. You have a Pulisic. Use them. Do you know what I mean? Don't be using Gallagher and Mount as your inside forwards, like just because you're stubborn that I don't think that's the kind of player that I want. Well, are Gallagher, Mount, or whoever else have it, let's say up front, are they doing the job for you? Why be stubborn? You're here to pick up 3 points now. And I'm not saying it's a guaranteed 100% 3 points if Ziyech and Pulisic comes back in. We've seen what Ziyech and Pulisic has done. They've been mediocre as well, let's be honest. But I think what I'm trying to say, and I think what Younes was trying to allude as well throughout this World Cup, these players are not as bad as we think they are.
Yeah.
They're not as bad as we think they are. I think we're in a situation where some of our managers have been a bit stubborn, and I get it. Managers are stubborn. That's what makes them them. That's what makes them that personality. But you don't have leg room to be stubborn right now, big man, because you will lose points. The more points you lose, the more pressure gets on you. And it's going to get more difficult and more difficult. Players will start forget. What did Thomas Tuchel say in his holiday that he's had after Chelsea? He said, the process is as good as it keeps winning. As soon as there's prolonged losses, everyone starts disbelieving the process. You can have short-term losses and you got to pick it up so the process can be believed on. As soon as you start having prolonged losses, which we are right now, prolonged losses, and you carry on like that against Bournemouth, you carry on like that against Man City, that prolonged loss, us three here will be like, what's this process all about, really? So
because people will say that. I think a lot of people will do the Chelsea fan base a discredit by saying that they don't want. Some people don't want a process, right? They just want to win, and they still feel like they can go in their old habits and still win in the current climate, which I disagree with. But a lot of people understand that we need to rebuild, but they're not sure if this is the person to rebuild with. And that is not something that I can ever beat somebody, beat them over the head with that point, because you have to prove along the way as well that you deserve that massive belief. You know what I mean? No one wants to sit here after 3 years and be like, well, we gave him 500 million and it didn't work out, but at least we stayed the course. At least we trusted. You know what I mean? Like, let's make sure that we have small targets. It's like at work. I hire you. I trust in you. I believe in your development, your process as an individual in this workplace. But along the way, you have small goals, small targets, not stupid ones, not go and win the Premier League, not go and win the Champions League, small targets along the way, whether that be style of play, development of young players. It doesn't have to always be results, because a lot of the time Chelsea managers come in here and they go down the results route and they pick up the results. But that comes at a consequence of giving players like, I'm not going to go through them, but Alonso a career again. And I went through it, didn't I? And, playing to the players' strengths, which sometimes goes against the style of play that they were actually brought in to implement. And then when that goes tits up, you have nothing to actually show for because you didn't really show a style of play. So I guess the question is, would you prefer Potter to implement a style of play for the rest of the season, but still see individual errors because not all the players are catered to that? Or would you rather him go down the results-based route and do whatever you have to do to get a win, is the question I have to ask probably.
I think you have to have a balance, man. This isn't Brighton, where results don't really mean anything. I need a development, I need a style, and I'm happy to wait 3 years, 4 years to start seeing results, as long as we don't get relegated. As you said, Matisse, and I think Younes alluded on this as well, there are certain standards with Chelsea. We will stay patient, but there are certain standards at Chelsea. You can't be going 3 games, 4 games, if you count the Carabao Cup. That's 4 losses in a row I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I saw 4 losses in a row. That, for me, is unheard of. That gets you sacked at Chelsea Football Club. And I get it, we need to deviate away from that. But I better see a W against Bournemouth.
See, it's the nature of the beast. This is the job at the highest level. This is it. You can't expect, even in a process, right? You can't expect to just go loss, and be like, guys, the process. It's okay for it to be bumpy. For it to be bumpy is cool. Oh, you won today, cool. Oh no, we drop points next week. We lose the next one. We win the next one. We lose again. We win, and then we draw. It's bumpy.
That's mid-table.
And even then, right?
But bumpies are meant to have some ups.
But do you know what I mean? Where in the midst of that, you get wins.
Yeah.
Right.
But it would be nice to see some consistency even throughout that, right? Like youth development, style of play. That would help as well. Yeah. But we're not at the moment. We haven't got that. But obviously, it's maybe too early to expect style of play. Although Vincent Kompany has applied a style of play at Burnley already, I'm not going to lie. He's cooking.
Well, this is cooking. See, this is the point. Even prior to the World Cup, this was our problem, wasn't it? We didn't know what the plan was. Like, what is the plan? What are we trying to do? Remember where we were looking at Chelsea and going, I don't get this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We need to find out what we want to do. And then if the results are a bit bumpy, cool. But if they go down a certain threshold, right, of like loss, I'm sorry, like something's wrong. Something's wrong. And when we go back to history, every single time we end up in a really bad patch of form where it's constant
really
losses. It means something's happened.
Yeah.
And
the articles drop, and the thesis comes out, and it's just pandemonium. Like literally, you're sending me into a PTSD moment right here because I'm just remembering what you're saying in terms of all the other managers, and the media they love it. And do you know what? It's not healthy for Potter to go through that. He's never really had to go through that.
And he won't go through that. Because even with the press, I think there's a certain level of protection, which I think we have to be honest on, that Potter will have. In the same way that
passport
I think
tax.
Even
passport
maybe
tax,
that Southgate has, or that even Lampard did up until it got to a certain point, and everyone was like, this is untenable.
Yeah.
Right? Only at that point will Potter realise, or will it hit him in terms of the press and everything flooding on him. But up until that point, he will always have that little bit of protection. So it's a matter of just really for us to analyze and see, is there something really wrong here? Is it really going south? Or is it manageable?
But on top of that, sorry, I'm very intrigued to see the dynamic between him and the match goers, because it's always labeled at international fans. Online fans have no patience. And yes, there is a small influence because we know that the club see social media. We know the players see social media. But best believe if you're booing them and chanting "fuck Sarri ball" in the stadium, that influences things too. So I'm very intrigued to see what the threshold is with them. Because I've been a match going fan and I've been an international fan. So I can kind of relate to both. I know what it's like to go to a match and see your team play like crap consistently and think, raw, are we really like, can I really endure this? And I think sometimes it's a bit easier for me to take it online because I'm watching it on TV now and I'm doing the watch alongs, and I'm getting bantered and trolled, but I'm not there in person having to really I'm still feeling it, but I can switch off the TV. Do you know what I mean? I can't really and I haven't, but if I have to, but in the stadium, I don't know, it just feels a little bit worse because you're just, the atmosphere, people are cussing, and it's just it starts to become a little bit toxic. But I don't know if he's built up the relationship with the stadium yet. Whatever it takes to build that connection. Tuchel has built a connection. He's got his big banner. Conte had his connection with the whole passion thing, with the running, and like, yes, this is intangibles and it shouldn't really matter. It should be results, but they've told us. I've heard many a time when Sarri was in charge, you got to create a connection with the fans. You got to make sure that there's some sort of connection. And these press conferences. Give us a little bit of va-va-voom, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you gotta do it, because
when
I don't give a shit about this stuff. I really don't. I just want to see style of play, good, and success, hopefully. But if you get into a sticky patch, it's the va-va-voom that might get you out. It's the vibe that might actually save you. And if you haven't got the vibe and you haven't got the va-va-voom and you haven't got the cha-cha-cha, then you might be cha-cha-chaing out the door. Do you know what I'm saying? So you got to try and make that. You got to build a character, is what I'm saying. Because if you don't build a
history
character,
shows that.
Yeah, I think in modern day football now, you got to have a character as well. You got to bring the full package, especially if the football's not going well. If the football's going well, you can be as dull as you want to be. I don't think anyone will care. But you're putting a lot more pressure on yourself on that side of things if you don't have some intangibles for people to connect to and say, oh, I love this guy, let's really, do you know what I mean? Unfortunately for him, that's so hopefully he develops a bit of that.
This is what I was saying to both of you guys recently in the WhatsApp chat, that I don't see that charisma. Like, I don't see that charisma in Potter. Like, and going back to that point, Matisse, that you said about Vincent Kompany, which is such a good example. He's killing it in Championship. Do you guys remember, not that long ago, I shared a video of Vincent Kompany ripping it to the Burnley players. He came to the post game and he said, I need you boys to listen right now. And everyone just looked up because it's Vincent Kompany. And he said, I don't care who you are. You got to give it your best or you'll get the F out of this football club. It will not take me too long to get rid of you. He even said recently, I think in a press conference as Championship has kicked back on, that he literally put out the statement out there to his players. I want all of my squad members to be scared that you can be replaced in this January transfer window.
Yeah.
For me, I love that. I love the manager to show character that they are the boss. And I know it's difficult for Graham Potter to come in. It's not Burnley. For Burnley, maybe Vincent Kompany is a huge figurehead. Man City legend comes into Burnley.
Opposite way around here, isn't it?
Yeah, Graham Potter comes in. He sees Raheem Sterling. He sees Aubameyang. He sees XYZ. Imagine if he talks like that. They'd be like, bruv.
Maybe he's just biding his time, hopefully.
But
and when those young under 23s come in, he might grow in stature.
There has to be
what I'm
balance
saying
of
is
that.
he needs to be like that.
Yeah, and not in a case to just impose and go, you must all be scared. Like, no, right? That's not what's being asked. Like, it's not good to have everyone just fearful.
Yeah, but you mentioned it with a training session.
But it's about putting everyone on a level of, hey, you know what's going to happen if you don't do what's required. You know.
You're gone.
But if you do what's expected of you, I'm gonna praise you. I'm gonna give you everything that you
He's very
deserve.
Encouraging on the touchline.
There has to be a balance of both. There has to be, when you do good, you're gonna get everything that you deserve. If you don't, you know the consequences. There has to be a balance of that.
Yeah, there has
because
to be consequences.
If there isn't, then you're just gonna get away with everything, and they're gonna know that. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. Like, there can't be that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, going back to your point, Matisse, when you look at Chelsea managers up until now, historically, the ones that have either done the best or survived the longest are, funnily enough, the ones that have had enough charisma and built character with the supporters. When you look at it, whether it's Jose, the fans, Conte, even the fans, Tuchel, the fans. It was always someone that was like, the fans went, this is the guy, But when you look at the other managers that didn't have that, Sarri, we all saw that what he was trying to do on the pitch. But even then, in terms of his personality, it didn't really connect with the match goers.
Mm.
It didn't last long. When you look at some of the other managers, I mean, AVB, we go back and Scolari. But there was nothing. There was nothing between them and the supporters. Nothing. It was dead. They were finished. They were finished before they started. So Potter needs to take that into consideration.
I think it's very critical to build on your point on that side of things, to surround him with the right mentalities, players-wise, because it's difficult for him to come in and do what you just spoke about, which is, really have that character that we want him to have because of the stature that he's at coming in to the size of the club that he's coming into. It's just such a difficult, situation, because it's like he hasn't, picked up the big trophies. He hasn't managed a big club. He doesn't have the big CV. So he's coming into a situation where the players have actually got more experience at the top level. They've won things, etc. So to come in and immediately have that, which is why, again, it's going to take time, he's going to have to grow into that. And maybe bringing in this young, super under-23 team, that inside of it makes sense, because you're going to get a lot more change out of young players. Look at Arteta. He doesn't have that CV. Man was the Everton legend. So they surrounded him by under-23 young players who are going to listen, who have got motivation. And again, this is the key: motivation and mindset. The mindset has to be spot on. We can't keep bringing in players who need managers to get something out of them. I don't get that. You're a player. You should have the ambition to want to win the Premier League, win the Champions League. We need to be signing players that have their own self-motivation. They don't need a kick up the arse from managers. They don't need Potter to be screaming and shouting. Yes, it's good to have a blend of the both, but the players as well that we recruit need to come with the right mindset. We sign too many players whose dodgy mindsets with big egos, and they clash, and they don't always stay consistent with their day-to-day, and then maybe, they're not giving it 100%. And we've seen managers time and time again saying these players' mentality is, every single manager says it, because these players' mentality is a little bit fugazi, and they do need, the special attention or the special manager to come in every season and give them a kick up the arse, and then they can go and do great things. But if they don't have that, like our old Chelsea did, where their mindset was just spot on constantly because they were just warriors and they just wanted to win, and they had pride. A lot of these players, unfortunately, they don't have that. They are very wishy-washy, and they need constant, what was the phrase that the horse needs constant nurturing and food? And what was the Mourinho quote? I think it was Mourinho.
The baby horse.
Yeah. What did he say? Does anybody remember the quote?
It needs milk, and it needs attention, and it needs looking after, and then later it'll become a big horse.
I'm gonna see if I can find this quote, man.
What a legend. No, but in the meantime, you know what it is? Like there's something on a mindset level, which is, I think, very, very important for people to clarify, right? There's motivation, but that can only last so long. When motivation dips, you need to have discipline.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be times where you're not going to feel up to it, but you pull yourself through no matter what. I have to. I'm going to do it. I have to. I feel like I don't want to, but I'm going to. That's discipline. And I feel like there's many players now that don't have that. There's moments where they're like, oh yeah, they'll feel fully up for it. And when they don't, they're just like, and then they turn soft. At that moment, it's up to them, but it's also up to the manager to keep them disciplined and to not allow them to fall. Because if you allow them to fall, where they're finished and you're finished. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that needs to be, especially for young lads, for young footballers that are still not mature enough. You have to turn to the manager. And the manager needs to be the one to be able to keep them on the surface, but at the same time needs to show them the way to guide themselves. Show them the way, and then after that they will do the rest. And I hope Potter's going to be that guy. I hope, but
this is why, going back to that Kieran Dyer point in True Geordie's clip, Potter I'm sure you have seen that clip of Kieran Dyer. I am so sure you would have seen that. And you best believe there are players inside your squad right now that don't respect you. You best believe that. Because if you don't believe that, you are delusional. So your job post World Cup for Graham Potter is weed out the players that don't respect you, whether it's Kovacic, whether it's Mendy, whether it's Ziyech, whether even if it's Mason Mount, for argument's sake. You need to weed them out. You need to have one-on-ones, and you need to actually find out if they believe you or not. Because if they don't believe in you, you have to let go of them, and you got to bring in players that are going to believe in you. Because what Kieran Dyer said was, some of the players are laughing. They're going, they shouldn't have let go of Tuchel. Have you seen his CV? Have you seen Potter's CV? That's insult for me.
It's mixed reports,
insult.
isn't it? Yeah, because I've seen that report as well. And then I've seen some people say that they're enjoying that he's encouraging on his touchline and all these things. So it's like, you just don't, I think, again, there's going to be different opinions in the squad, isn't it? As always, like behind the scenes, I'm sure they have their conversations and you know, there's probably a group that prefer this manager but it's not all. And again, that's a divide that teams like Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal don't have. And the only way to get through that, like you said, is to be ridiculously ruthless. And Potter needs to be ruthless. That is my biggest ask of Potter, is to be very ruthless with the players, because you are meant to outlive the players, not the players outlive you. And Arteta was very ruthless. He said, Aubameyang, I've given you one chance. I've given you two chances. I'm not going to give you a third chance. Out the door. Arsenal fans, a lot of them didn't like it. But he said, I don't give a shit. I've seen the Amazon doc. He was like, no. They were like, the people were questioning behind the scenes. Are you sure you want to let your top goal scorer? No. I said what I said. I said what I said. My top goal scorer, whatever he is not coming back into this team. He has done wrong. He has bent the rules. If Potter is not that strong mentally, that's my biggest praise of Arteta so far, probably. If he's not that strong mentally to deal with those situations and to, you know, take out the weeds, like you said, then he's going to end up dying with them. So it's as simple as that. And he has to be ruthless. Every manager at the top level is ruthless. You have to be. And if you're not ruthless, you pay the price. Even Klopp over the summer, not thinking that he needed a midfielder, thinking that he could rely upon Carvalho and Elliott, and because we all saw the quotes. I think we're fine. Ruthless. You weren't ruthless. You paid the price this season. You're paying the price. You weren't ruthless, so you're paying the price. You have to be ruthless, because otherwise it's going to go the other way. So, and that's with a team that all respects him and is, you know, the loyalty's all there. So, fully agree with you. There seems to be an update on Fofana as well. It says that Fofana's had some scans on what is believed to be a reoccurrence of a stretched knee ligament he suffered in October. A full time frame for this recovery is yet to be determined, but he is expected to be out of contention to face Bournemouth. Reoccurrence. Now, I don't like
I have an issue with that now, because in my last stream, I said, I'm going to wait, because if it's the same knee, this is where I'm going to have to ask questions about the medical staff. I'm going to have to ask about the players' fitness regime. This is your first game back.
I mean, just to interject, hold that thought. We haven't hired a medical director yet, have we?
I don't even know what's going on with that medical staff. Like, do we have one? Or are we outsourcing? Are we getting Liverpool ones or something? Or Brighton? Are we doing Brighton ones?
Place them. So, but probably. Maybe we use Brighton's medical facilities to send players.
Players go to Brighton. Drive up to Brighton now. Check out the doctors
straight
over there.
Down the M23. It's all right.
But I have an issue now that it's reoccurrence. Because Younes, I heard you saying the Big Six extra. Now I don't know whether you saw some reports or something, because you thought it was the other knee.
Yeah, I saw reports that initially after it happened that it's not an old injury, it's a new one. It's a knock on a different knee. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Turns out no. So there we are.
What's the guarantee? Can Ivan Toney bet on this? What's the guarantee that it ain't gonna occur on that knee again?
There's no guarantee. We just have to pray.
So what does that make this player now? What does that make
If
this
it's the
player?
same, yeah, if it's
I
the
don't
same
wanna-
knee, we might have a problem.
Oh, they've said it is, yeah.
Knee ligament,
Mm.
mate.
This is
You
the
can't you can't play against Brentford on a 45 1/3 match.
Oh,
Yeah, look,
goodness.
it's long.
It's a long day.
80 million. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. I'm not gonna give. Listen, I'm the tag injury prone. I've given it to so many players now. I feel like I need a new tag. To be honest, we need to. You know what I mean? This is becoming so. I'm just gonna foolishly pray that he.
I mean, Matisse, I want to ask you now that you've read that report. What now? Like, how do we prepare now this brother to make the second comeback of this season? What didn't we do the first time that we're going to do better this time? What are we going to do this time?
I don't know.
That's true. And I have to, you know what? I'm going to do this, right? Shout out to Leicester.
Oh, this guy, bro. This guy's taking a piss, bro.
Real talk. Shout out to Leicester. You know why? Because they keep selling these guys for astronomical amounts of money and they keep knocking it out of the park at the perfect time.
They love it, bro.
They get these players in for cheap. Boom, boom. Oh, yeah, we got a superstar now. Flog him, 80 million. Boom, gone, falls apart. It happens every time. They've done it with Maguire. Now this. I mean, they sold players like Kante in the past and Danny Drinkwater. Leicester. Class. On a business level, class.
Yeah, I have to pray.
But you know what? Like, okay, having concerns about this, I go back to the point. Even before the World Cup, when Fofana wasn't around, Chalobah was the stand-up defender. So for me, once Premier League starts, status quo, nothing really changes for me.
Yeah,
because
we're in the same situation.
We're in the same situation, and Chalobah's going to start, and I always wanted him to start anyway. So this goes back to my point in the summer. Now do you guys understand why I wasn't the biggest fan on this transfer? I like the player a lot. Stop saying Miz hates Fofana. If I see that in the comments, I'm coming for you. I don't hate the player. I just hated the planning around it because I think that money could have been better utilized for a midfielder or an attacker,
It's a lot
which
of money.
is much
You're
needed.
very, very justified to say that. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And Levi Colwell was just, he could have done with those minutes. And we're out of all competitions anyway. We're only going to have Champions League. And I mean, what rotation are we really talking about? Like, FA Cup, Man City is going to take care of us very soon. So it's just the two, Premier League and Champions League. So Levi Colwell would have been the better backup, smarter backup, I believe, and the money would have been better spent elsewhere. That's just my thought.
You know, like we're meant to be renowned as charity FC. We're not very, very good with charity if we keep throwing money out the window like this, are we? You know, like the whole Lukaku situation, and then we end up with nothing. And now, like, we're back to how we were pre-Fofana, but we're 80 million in the red.
Yeah.
But
you know what, Younes? With the Lukaku one, that's him self-destructing on us. Like,
he did.
There was proper vision that this guy was going to be a monster with us. Like, all of us were wearing sunnies on Matisse's channel. Like, how hyped we were for this brother. Yeah. This brother killed himself, like Chelsea. Whereas with Fofana, I think the planning was, I don't think that was what we needed at that time. We had players. Whereas with Lukaku, we needed a striker. And at that time, he was killing it in Serie A. Do you know what I mean? So we were potentially title contenders last season, weren't we? We were title contenders with Lukaku. Yeah. So, yeah.
I pray. I really do. That's all I have to say on it because I'm trying not to get worried. And I'm interested to see what the comments say in terms of where they're at with it. But it's early days. I feel like there's a lot more to come in terms of this Fofana situation. We'll see what happens, but we'll see when he returns. Obviously, we've signed in Cuckoo, who's also out injured as well. So I'm trying not to go into a state where I just like even bring that up, because let's just for all time's sake pretend that there's no issues, and it's just going to be fine.
And Matisse, don't forget all the other players that are still injured for us. Ben Chilwell still to come back. He's had a huge injury followed by another big injury. How many games Reece James got in his pocket until a knock happens again? Like, we have to think very deep in this January transfer window strategically. Who needs backups? Which players need to be managed properly? Their workload. Can't be dumb anymore, man. We cannot be operating in a stupid
dumb for a
manner.
very long time. We've been pretty dumb.
Very dumb.
CFC Daily was saying this is the first time since 2017 we've actually got a footballing structure, in terms of, he's saying that technical director that's now coming today. Obviously, I think the last one was Emanalo. We've been pretty dumb for a long time now. The recruitment is, out of all the top 6 teams, it's now the worst. Like, maybe you can say Tottenham with their right back problem that they've been having with Emerson Morale, Doherty, but we having it in almost all positions. Man United were alongside with us, and then obviously they managed to sort themselves out in the last window, it seems. We need to fix up, because Newcastle are there. There's clubs vying for our position. It's all well and good to say, oh, everything will be fine because we're Chelsea, and I like what we're doing in terms of recruitment staff and some of the players we're targeting, but remember, there's other teams in this league. This is the most competitive league in the world, and you can think that you're looking good and still finish 6th and 5th just because Newcastle looked better. Their recruitment was better. There's a lot of competition. It's the big 6 now, probably going to become the big 7 very, very soon. And now Emery manages Aston Villa now.
Emery's there. And when Aston Villa is getting linked with players like João Felix, something's wrong. Something is wrong.
That's not normal.
That's not normal. And I still think it won't be big 7. It's just going to be big 6 with one of the current 6 that's just going to drift away in the wilderness. Do you know what I mean? So
hopefully it's Tottenham.
It just ain't enough room to still be the Super 7s that I heard Turkish say the other day. It's just
there's only 6 positions in the.
It's only 6 because 7 is now there's not enough room.
Overcrowded.
Overcrowded. Someone's got to drift away in the wilderness. Do you know what I mean?
Hopefully it's Tottenham. Hopefully. And Big 6 ain't even an achievement, because what is that? Europa League?
What is that? Conference League, I think, isn't it?
No, I think 7th is Conference League.
Oh, 7th is Conference League.
Yeah. So
who knows? Maybe we'll.
It used to be the Big 4 that you used to be going for.
The top 4. Yeah.
Wow. How times have changed, huh?
Do you reckon we'll play Conference League next year?
Listen, I'm not involved. You guys can play Conference League. you guys can play Conference League. I'm not involved. I've seen some of the teams in that league. Oh my god. Oh,
no,
geez.
it's true. I don't think it even qualifies a review.
Can you imagine doing watch-alongs for Conference League in the group stages? No.
As I said, I don't think even a review is worthy.
No. Yeah.
Like, the game happens, just it didn't exist for me.
It just happened.
I'll cover it. Wow. Yeah. All right. We'll end on that note. Younes, let them know where to find you. Good to be back.
Good to be back. Yeah, no, all going back to club football now anyway. So, content will be coming to do with Chelsea and obviously other clubs. We'll see what else is popping around. Younes Talks Football. And we'll gear up for Bournemouth. That's going to be interesting. I just saw, as well, by the way, Bournemouth. What was the score yesterday?
1-0.
I only lost 1. Fair enough, because they had 8 to 10 players out with the virus. He had to name the starting 11 twice because of players that were just unavailable. So, yeah, Chelsea, like, we ain't got any excuse. We ain't got. If we don't pick up a win
against Bournemouth at home, what are we going to do? Because we're going to come right back here next week and cry. Oh, Jesus. Surely we have to win that game. I'm not even gonna accept any.
It's 3 points. Like, even a draw is just
Bro,
give us a loss.
Bournemouth at home, bro. No disrespect. Yeah, come on. If we don't win this game, this is a long day.
Bournemouth at home, and 8 to 10 players are not playing because they were ill. Like,
Miz, let them know where to find you. Pleasure.
I'm scared that they're going to win one. I'm scared they're going to win 1-0 now. I'm scared Bournemouth's going to win 1-0.
I think we'll be fine.
I'm from what I saw this morning, man, my time, and I was like, wow, Newcastle's all over Bournemouth. Surely we get this one. So hopefully kicks off with a W, and then we'll see what we do after that. The other side of the coin, we are running towards 20,000 subscribers, so let's get there. And I mean, I've been carrying on with Chelsea news anyway during the World Cup, mixing it with the World Cup, but now obviously I'll focus on the Chelsea point of view, and just like the boys, previews, reviews, news, all of that, watch alongs.
Well, there you go, guys. Make sure you subscribe. We are back. It feels like we're back now after this conversation as well. I'm looking forward to Bournemouth. Hopefully we win. And let's hope that Fofana is not injury prone and he recovers and then he stays fit, because we don't need any more injury prone players. I'm already worried enough about Reece James and others like that. So until next time, big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.